Measuring ethno-cultural characteristics through population censuses. Data on ethno-cultural characteristics of the population are increasingly important in the context of migration, integration, and minority policies. These data are particularly relevant in countries with a culturally diverse population. The enumeration of these characteristics is difficult and must be handled carefully because they are often considered sensitive by the respondents. Cultural perspectives may influence the level of sensitivity respondents have to these topics. In some countries, for instance, religion can be a topic too sensitive to be included in a census, while in other countries it may be acceptable, whereas other topics such as ethnicity could be considered very sensitive. The topics can also be considered politically sensitive, depending on the national, political, and social context. An additional challenge is that the concerned population groups are often small. For these reasons, the free and open answer of the respondents is essential when information on these topics is collected. Furthermore, special care may be required in census procedures and outputs to demonstrate to respondents that appropriate data protection and disclosure control measures are in place. In 2006, the Conference of European Statisticians adopted a set of recommendations for the 2010 round of population censuses. This document represents the main standard that countries in the ECE region will use for the next round of censuses. The ECE region includes the countries of Europe, North America, Central Asia, and Israel. The CES recommendations include some census topics that are indicated as core, which means that they should be collected by all countries, and others that are non-core, which can be considered by countries on an optional basis. With regard to ethno-cultural characteristics, the CES census recommendations include 3 topics that are all non-core topics: ethnicity, language, and religion. Ethnicity is based on a shared understanding of the history and territorial origins of an ethnic group, as well as on particular cultural characteristics such as language, religion, and specific customs and ways of life. Data on ethnicity is relevant for the understanding of the cultural diversity of the population and the position of ethnic groups in society. Ethnicity data can be highly subjective, and it is difficult to word questions that will be unambiguous to all the different subgroups of the population. Therefore, questions need to be very carefully tested within the cultural and political framework of a country. Moreover, it is often necessary to promote specific information campaigns to address this issue. Given the sensitivity of the issue, information on ethnicity should always be based on an open reply of respondents, free from any influence by the interviewer. Data on language can be collected for 2 different purposes. First, it can provide information on the cultural roots of the population, allowing the identification of language regions and language groups. For this purpose, information should be collected on either the mother tongue, which is the first language spoken in early childhood, or on the main language, which is the language that a person commands best. On the other hand, data on language can also provide information on the ability to communicate of the population. For this purpose, information should be collected on the language most used by respondents at home or work, or on the knowledge of languages. Religion is generally regarded as a set of beliefs and practices involving acknowledgement of a divine or higher being, power, or principle by which people conduct their lives. In some countries, it is considered as a sensitive and private subject, and for this reason it can be a voluntary question, even though the census itself is compulsory. When collecting data on religion, different concepts can be considered. Formal membership, to ask if the person is formally a member of a religious group. Identification with a certain religion. Persons may consider themselves, for example, as Christians, Muslims, Buddhists, or other. Religious belief, to ask if the person believes, for instance, in God, Allah, or another. Religious education. This refers to upbringing in accordance with the principles of a certain religion. Religious attendance. This refers to regular attendance at religious services. In conclusion, the census provides an opportunity to collect detailed information on a number of ethno-cultural characteristics of the population, such as ethnicity, language, and religion. These data could be very relevant, for example, in shedding light on the ethnic composition of the population, the integration of minorities, or the knowledge of languages. Countries should consider the opportunity to include these topics in their census, but should also keep in mind that these topics could be considered as sensitive by the population. For this reason, particular care should be taken if these topics are to be included in the census.